You may be seated. Thank you very much, Bishop. And his wife. He's always saying, "I'm afraid of Bishop Jimmy." I thought I was already your friend, because I count you as a friend, and also as a great person to be associated with. I have admired you, and I always like to be where you are. So I count you as a friend. I hope from today you also now be saying, "This is my friend." Yes, but Bishop Jimmy of the Reference Church is the one who brought us together. I was in the team that started the church in Zimmerman. My family was one of the 8 families that started the Deliverance Church in Zimmerman. And I was a leader for 12 years before I moved to the U.S. in 1996. And we are there with my family. My wife is here with me here, but she was not able to come to this meeting. As I listened to Bishop Ndungu, one thing that I noticed is that God is speaking to his church about encouragement. Because I preached in our church on January 22nd, I told them there are 2 spirits that can steal your future. Naweza kukuibia mambo ya usoni. I told them the spirit of weariness, the spirit of discouragement, that can actually take away what God has promised in the future. Because you give up and you don't go for it. The other spirit that can steal your future is the spirit of fear. I haven't preached about that one because last time I preached was the 22nd, and I promised my congregation that I will be preaching about the spirit of fear. Because the spirit of weariness or discouragement can actually steal what is in your future. It can take away. Huyo ni mwizi. And also the spirit of fear. And the other thing I told Bishop Ndungu is that God had his own plans to send me here to fellowship with you this afternoon, because every day I have something I have planned to do. But when he spoke to me, it just happened that today I had not planned anything. And so I guess God was leaving it open. I have benefited from the message that the teachings that we have just listened. I call it is like the macro picture, the big picture of leadership. He has given us the big picture. And what I will try to do is what is called the micro. The micro is where I will give you the hangers, where to hang everything that he has given you. Because it's a lot. If you want to teach what he taught, I want to give you the hangers where you can actually hang what he taught you, so that you can also teach the same things the way he was teaching. Apart from being a pastor, I am a management consultant. I have an office in the city of Memphis, Tennessee. I have consulted for Europeans who invest in the U.S. and also for Americans. And I've also started to help Africans to invest in different places. Management is about leadership of institutions and leadership of people. And the principles that we use in the world of business, and Bishop Ndungu has just mentioned, are the same principles we use in the church. The only difference we do is that when we do it in the church, there is the God factor. That everything they do out there, they don't have the God factor. But whatever we do in the church, we use the same principles, but there is the God factor in it. God is the one who causes whatever things we plan, whatever things we manage to work even better. Because in addition to what the world can do, we can be able to do much more, because God is adding that factor which the world cannot do. So even what I do in the secular world, when I'm advising different people, I'm always being better than other consultants, because I'm tapping into a higher power, a power that other consultants are not tapping. And God has given me good success, and that's why I can confess that what I've achieved is not because of me. especially working in that country where they look at the color of your skin, and the kind of things that I've been able to do. I can only say God is the one who opened the opportunities, where they always ask, what is Daniel saying? Where the white people asking, what is Daniel saying? When they talk between themselves, they reach a point and they ask, what is Daniel saying? So that's only God who can give you that favor, where people who are very discriminating can be able to honor you. I want to present a framework of leadership. That's why I said I'm going to give you the hangers, where to hang everything that Bishop Dongo taught us. A framework. And with this framework, you can be able to teach those you can actually use it to develop yourself so that you can grow to be a great leader. And you can also teach those who are under you in your group. For example, you might be in charge of the singing group. Being a leader, whatever I will be able to share with you, I want to share something you can use to help yourself to grow as a leader, and also what you can use to help those who are under you to grow. The leadership role, when you are a leader, there are two things you must do. There are two things as a leader you must do. One is to guide whatever team or group you have, to provide guidance, to guide. And the second thing is to motivate. Bishop Nongo dwelt on the second one very well. That is what called to encourage. And when you have a group, the key thing is to encourage them. If you have noticed the people who are in sports, they always go to the locker room and the coach is always giving them what is called a pep talk before they go for the game. It is to tell them you can do it. You can do it. To encourage your team members. So in addition to guiding them, you motivate them. Because as Bishop Dongo said, and as I was preaching 2 weeks ago, there is a cloud of weariness. There is a cloud of discouragement amongst the people. So you as a leader, you have to encourage yourself in God, because the people you are leading, a lot of them are falling away because of discouragement. Not because of anything else. He's going to make God to do any sin, but he's going to pour cold water on you. He's going to pour a spirit of discouragement, a spirit of weariness. And unless you're able to overcome that, you will start doing what you are being taught, that you feel like throwing in the towel, deciding I'm not going to be able to do it. And why I taught in the church like that is because I was feeling that spirit of weariness. And as I started to address that spirit of weariness, I realized it is not only there. It's not only me. Everybody, even in the congregation, requires God to encourage them, to be feel strong. I don't know whether you have felt that. And especially after COVID, we all felt a spirit of weariness. We felt a spirit of hopelessness. And sometimes you don't feel it. We are calling it the frog effect. They say you can kill a frog by putting it in water and start heating it. And it will not feel because it adapts to the temperature of the water. By the time the frog realizes this water is too hot, it is already dead. And what we have been going through, the spirit of weariness, is the frog effect. You just feel a kind of a coldness in your spirit, a kind of a discouragement, a kind of weariness. You wonder, why am I not excited about the things that used to excite me? You are going through the frog effect. You don't know why you feel kind of tired. You feel like maybe I go to the second service. You used to go to the first service. You want to do these things. There are things you used to feel excited to do. And we want to pray that God will save us, that we will not be boiled like frogs. We will not go through that, especially as leaders. Because if we leaders are being boiled, then the rest of the people will not find encouragement. So those are two things you as a leader, whether you are a pastor, a leader of a small group, the two things that you must do is to provide guidance to your group and to provide motivation all the time. To provide guidance, it means you must know what you are teaching them. What Bishop Nongo was talking about, sound doctrine. Sound doctrine. Because that is part of guiding your group. Knowing the sound doctrine yourself, then you are able to guide your group. Because you are required as a leader to be able to guide your group and to motivate them. Those two things you must do. Whether it's a small group, a women's group, a youth group, a singing group, or a church, or a cell group. You must guide them and you must motivate them. And to be able to do that, we find guidance in the 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15 to 16. Let's read that. Why you are able to be a guide to whatever group has given you. Be diligent to present yourself to God. Do you have the other translation where it says study to show yourself approved? I think there's that translation says study to show yourself approved, a workman who needs not to be ashamed. Study. If you're going to be a leader, you must be studious of knowing the doctrine, of knowing the vision of the church, of knowing the vision of the group. Study to show yourself approved, a workman who needs not to be ashamed. So to guide your group, you have to prepare yourself. You yourself must be prepared. You must have studied. You must be familiar with the vision of the church, the vision, the guiding, whatever you are trying to do. What is it you want to achieve in the group that God has been given you, that the bishop has allocated to you? What is it? Do you understand it? Can you pass it to the others? Because you're only able to guide the people who are beside you if you yourself know. If you don't know, then the group is not going to go anywhere. But if you know what you are trying to achieve, if you are a worship leader, what is it you are doing? Is it just singing? Or is there something that you want to achieve? Is there something the bishop has asked you? We want to achieve to raise the people to a certain level. So that whenever you are trying to get the people to do, is actually based on some knowledge of what you are trying to achieve. To guide your people, you must know. And you study to show yourself approved. Yes, you got the translation. Study to show you thyself approved, and to God a workman that needs not to be ashamed. Rightly dividing the word of truth, doctrine, knowing the right doctrine, and be able to guide your people. Why do you need to motivate people? Why do you need to encourage people? The Bible tells us in Galatians 6:19, do not be weary of well-doing, because in due season you shall reap. Why was the apostle writing to the Galatians and telling them, do not be weary? It's because of what I just told you. Because this is a long journey. We are in a marathon. We are in a race, as Bishop Mugo also mentioned. And a race takes time, and many people get tired. That's why you have to encourage people. That's why whenever I meet my people, I start highlighting what we have achieved. When I have my committee, my church committee, I start by highlighting what we have achieved. Like the last time we said, I told them, remember last year, we had like 5 events, 5 major visitors who came to us. I tried to show them that you might not be able to see, but you see these things we did. I start to motivate them, to show them that we are achieving certain goals of what we said to do. Many of them might be wondering, what have we achieved? I tell them, yeah, remember, in 1 year we had 5 major events, outreach events. Then they say, oh, we are doing something. And you're actually motivating them and telling them, don't be discouraged, because I know already, as the apostle say, even doing good, you can get discouraged. The apostle is saying, do not get weary in well-doing, because people get tired, even in doing good things. And that's why you as a leader, you have to guide them, you have to motivate them, you have to keep encouraging them. Otherwise, you find a lot of people actually get tired. Because like if you are getting again to the singing group, you might ask them to come twice a week to practice. You find some are getting tired. And they want to come one time. But to keep encourage them, you show them, you tell them, so did you see how the spirit came last Sunday? Did you see how the worship raised the people's spirit? That when the bishop started preaching, people received the word. Then they realized this is not just singing. There is something you are achieving, there is something you are doing, and therefore they feel motivated to come again and again to prepare. You have to guide and to motivate your group and your team. You keep highlighting the achievements. That's what motivates people. You tell them, we did this and we did that. You keep highlighting that. You keep highlighting the importance of the mission that you're doing. That's what keeps people, because the people are always asking, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? What are we achieving? Because if you are not achieving anything, most people will quit. But if you keep reminding them what you are achieving, then they will be able to sustain. Do not be weary of wrongdoing. Do not be weary of well-doing, for in due season you will reap if you faint not. Because it's a long journey, it's possible to get tired. And therefore, you have to keep motivating your group. You have to keep helping your group. Even the same scripture that was read before, Hebrews 12:1 says, this is a race. This is a marathon. And people who run a marathon, we were already told, they were pace setters who actually encourage them. Because it's long, and therefore you need people to encourage you. We all need to be encouraged because we have a long journey to go. We have a mission to accomplish. And being reminded of the mission and being encouraged and being told what it is we are trying to achieve, then we are strengthened. When you see, like the bishop was telling us, you see a lost world. You see what we are able to do to help people who have lost their way. Then you feel we are achieving something, we are doing something of value. It's when your bones are burning with the fire of the gospel of Jesus that you are able actually to come every Sunday and every other time to move the church forward. I always use the motto in our church, let us keep the fire of the gospel burning in our community and in our city. That's how I motivate the people in our city. Those who feel discouraged, I tell them, remember there are many people who don't know God. It is you and me who need to keep the fire of Jesus burning in this city and in our community. And I feel that is something important we are doing. You might wonder, what are we doing? We are keeping the fire burning in our city and in our community. So every Sunday I tell them that, to motivate them, because as I guide them, I want to motivate them to tell them, we are not just here meeting. We're not just coming to a meeting. We are achieving something, we are aiming at something, and that is what keeps us going. Without something you are running to, you will give up. But if you keep the goal on focus, then everybody will say, that is what we are running to, and they will keep running. So you must guide and motivate your team, your group. That's what a leader is supposed to do. Two things. You can break them into many things, but these are two things that a leader must do, to guide and to motivate your team. And as Bishop Dongo spoke for a long time, and I think that is what the Spirit is saying, people need encouragement. This is a time you might not know. They might be going the frog way. They might not even know that they are being boiled. You just feel people are getting cold and you wonder what. You find a brother who used to be vibrant, they are saying, I'll watch the service by Facebook. And people have really refused to come. Some people have actually refused to come back to church. It's actually that spirit of cold, that spirit of weariness is what we are fighting after COVID. People who feel they are okay, they don't feel like meeting with other people. So as a leader, actually, God is asking us to guide those people and to motivate them. Whatever group or institution you lead, there are three pillars. There are three pillars. I told you I'll give you the hangers where to hang everything we got. We got the big picture, but I want to give you hangers where to hang them. In every institution you lead or every group, there are three things you are looking for. There are three pillars that can hold that group or that institution together. There is a structure. And the other one is a strategy, and the other one is substance. They all start with S, so it's easy to remember them. The Bible says when you talk of structure, it's how you organize. When you are in a group, even if it's a small group, you can't be the leader alone. For example, I use again the example of a choir. You might be the choir director, but you can't be just the one leader. You might just select another assistant so that when you are not able to come for whatever reason, the group will not fall away. So that's called structure. A structure helps whatever you are leading not to depend on one person, not to depend on any individual. Those who have, I was in charge of music when I was in Deliverance Church Zimmerman, and I know musicians are very difficult people to manage. I myself am a musician. I used to play the keyboard and the guitar. So, and I know they are very difficult to manage people. So every time I have to make sure, before the Sunday service, it could be Friday or Saturday, I make sure I call the particular people so I know who is going to be playing a particular instrument, who is going to be doing this? That's called structure. You have to have a structure, otherwise you might be leading a very vital group in the church. But if you don't have structure, it is not going to function and deliver at the level you want it to deliver. You have to have structure. So anything you lead, a group or even a church, you have to have a structure. A structure that makes the whole thing is what we call building institutions. You build a group which does not depend on any one individual. If one guitarist has an attitude and has a problem, you have to make sure the church is going to be paralyzed because this guy has a problem, has an attitude, has an issue. You have to make sure that you have something you can fall back to. And you can't come apologizing in the church. Oh, today we don't have music because of... That means there is no structure if you are going to do that. So structure is very important in whatever you lead. It could be a small group or a church or a cell group or whatever. If it has no structure, it's going to fall. Like you have seen houses falling which have no structure and killing people. Then strategy and substance go together. And substance, when you talk of substance, I was talking to a man who in our own city, whose ministry is to help the homeless people. In the US, you have homeless people who have no homes. They live in the streets. Here you used to call them street children, but there you have actually adults. You have also children, but mainly these are adult people. They are homeless. So there are people, by the compassion of God, they have felt they want to help these people. And one group which has been using one of our church premises, we have rented them a part of our church premises, was talking to me sometimes early December. And he was struggling because the donors, there's something called donor fatigue. Donor fatigue is a form of weariness, where the donors get tired. They get discouraged. They're also asking, what are we doing? Where are we putting the money? They also need to be encouraged. You need to keep telling them, see the people. So as I was talking to him, and he was talking of grant writing. Grant writing is where you apply to organizations that have money. And so you write a grant to tell them what you are doing. And I told him, even before you write a grant, you must address these 3 S's. Structure, strategy, and substance. Because when you come to me and you want me to give money, I'll ask you, who are leading that organization? Who is leading that group? And that's how I join your group. That's how I start giving if I know who is doing it. The other thing I ask you, you are telling you want to feed these people. What have you arranged? What strategies? What plans have you got to feed them? The third thing I told you must show substance. You must show something. Like if you are leading a small group, a music group, if we are singing the same song every Sunday, then we will say there is lack in substance. You have to bring variety. You have to bring new songs. You have to show substance. You have to continue to be creative in terms of what you are delivering. Substance is what they call deliverables. What is that you are required to deliver? If you are appointed by the pastor to lead a particular group, like the hospitality group, or you say you are in charge of making sure the church is arranged and cleaned up, what is the substance? The substance is to come and check that everything is done on Saturday night. To make sure that when people come, nobody will find things scattered all over. That is the substance. How do you achieve that? You have a strategy. You have somebody you have assigned to do it, and you follow up and make it done. So there must be structure, there must be strategy and substance for any. Those are the 3 pillars that hold an institution. It could be a big institution like a county government, and you must have these 3 pillars. It could be a small group, singing group. I just gave you an example. These are pillars that hold any institution: the structure, the strategy, and the substance. To organize is to give people their roles in the group. That is structure, the roles that each group person is going to do, the rules of the operation of the group, and to identify talents and gifts. That's part of organizing. That's part of structure. And you see what you are trying to do, and this was also mentioned. That's why I said Bishop Ndongo covered almost everything. I'm just giving you the hangers. if you are in a group and you are a leader, you do what is called impartation. And impartation, we find where Paul is saying the gifts that were identified and we confirmed them by the laying of hands. You might find people actually in the church who have gifts and they don't even know them, or they are shy. So you as a leader, you can actually identify someone who say, can teach Sunday school. The person seems to be playing with the kids, his children, and you say, this person can actually be helping in the Sunday school. The person doesn't know, and you can actually call them and pray with them, and you're actually doing an impartation. You're actually releasing that gift out of them. Don't only think it's the bishop who can do it. You as a leader actually can impart. You can see somebody who is playing with the instruments and doesn't know the way. You say, you come, we'll help you to start playing a certain instrument. I will get someone to teach you. You're actually imparting. Because every leader has to guide and motivate, and part of that work is to impart and to actually see the gifts and release them. And that's part of structure. We as leaders are seeing more people than the bishop only. So you're actually seeing people, and you can even bring them forth to the senior leadership and say, I see this person can help the church. Because when the bishop says you are a leader in a particular section, you're actually his eyes in that section. And when you see something, they say, when you see something, say something. You see something, you say something. Because if you see talent and you keep quiet, then that talent gets wasted. You see someone gifted, because some people are gifted but they are shy. It is you as a leader who are actually going to capture, to help them out, to bring them forward. And that's how we grow the work. By actually identifying talent and gifts and bringing them forward so that they can serve the church. That's what we as leaders are, wherever God has placed us. Never minimize where God has placed you. That's why I'm using a small group as an example. I could speak in high terms, very high terms, talking about the county government or the big government. But these pillars help the small group and they help the big groups. So you as the eyes of the senior leadership, you're actually seeing the talent. You are even seeing other issues which need to be addressed. I usually tell the people in my church, you don't have to wait until the main general meeting. You don't even have to wait for anything. If you know anything that can help the church, send that message to one of the leaders or even to me. Don't wait. If you know something, if you think there's something that can help the church, just send that message to the leadership. And you see that the church actually grows because no one person knows everything, no one person can see everything. So the structure, you see, strategy is the means by which you reach the substance. Because structure is like when you build a house, you don't build a house just to be a house. You have a purpose for it. You have a mission for it. And that's what we call substance. The mission is the substance. Because sometimes actually we lose the mission in the church. You might find a church where people might think the church is just singing. But the church has a mission to accomplish. And that mission is spelled in Luke chapter 4, where Jesus presented us his agenda. He said, I have come to do this, and this, and this, and this. And when he went, he wants us to do those things. The items listed in Luke chapter 4, where he said, the Spirit has anointed me. So when he went, he sent in the Spirit and anointed us to carry the mission, to preach the gospel to the poor, to heal the brokenhearted, to loose the captives, and to declare the favor of God on the people of God. That is our agenda as a church. We can sing, we can dance, but remember we have a substance, we have a mission, we have a core mission which we need to accomplish. But many people can get lost in the decoration. Remember, you can have a gift wrapped in very beautiful wrapping. But finally, we tear the wrapping and throw it in the trash and get the gift. That is the substance. So in structure, we are just preparing the vehicle which will carry the substance. In strategy, we are devising the means by which we get to the mission. In strategy, whatever you are trying to do, all the things that we were taught earlier, the things that a leader needs to accomplish, there are certain things that you must always do. In the little group that God has helped the leadership to appoint you to be a leader, there are 4 things which you always want to make sure are happening. You want to ensure that core again, the substance, the quality of that. Now I said, if you are the leader of the choir or the singing of the worship group, you must always think. For example, when I'm preparing the church bulletin, and I want to select the songs that are going to be sung, I consider a lot of things, and sometimes I'm just listening to the Spirit. And then, as I continue preparing, I might think of this one, but as I'm checking it, something else comes in. We are looking of the core, the substance of what it is we are doing. That must always be in your mind. The second thing is, in any small group or organization that you are leading, you must think of convenience. And that's where the church goes wrong. Convenience. If you make it inconvenience, people work with convenience. Like now in the US, most people are buying their things online. You can build your shop and make it so beautiful. But people are not going to come. Because what people are looking is convenience. So if you are a smart businessman, now you are looking for convenience. You are looking for online orders, and you are arranging for deliveries. If you insist, no, people must come to my restaurant. My restaurant has the best food. They are not going to come. Because that's not what they are looking for. It looks like they are not even looking for food. They are actually looking for convenience. Because they want the food in their house. You might have the best food, but if you don't have delivery and online ordering system, they are not going to order from you. The church always goes wrong about that. Convenience. Convenience also speaks of time and space. For example, space is like where you are asking people to be. If it is so convenient, I come here on one Sunday and I am sweating real bad, Bishop Mugo, I might actually hesitate to come the following Sunday. So, as a leader, I will make sure if I find people are sweating real bad, I'll start looking for all ways and means to make it convenient for the people. I'll go to the ends of the world to look for whatever it is to make sure people are comfortable. That's called convenience. Convenience of time. Well, when we started a long time ago when I was young, we used to go to church from 11 to 3. These days, I can hardly sustain because my service is usually broadcast. So we broadcast. There are people in the church and there are also people participating from the broadcast, the Zoom broadcast. So I try to make myself, I will not ask anybody to do it the same I do, but we try to do most of the things within 1 hour because it's a broadcast service. Now, that is convenient. I'm not saying that answers everything, but I'm just trying to address. And that is, I'm trying to transition people from COVID to the new world. Maybe when they all come to the church, and actually the people who come to the church, they stay longer because after the main service, we actually go to a fellowship hall. We are fellowshipping, taking tea, and we are interacting with the people. So we are actually doing ministry. So although the service for those who are outside is just a 1 hour service because people cannot sustain an online service usually more than 1 hour. Nobody wants to watch a service more than 1 hour. So for a small group or a church or an organization, you are looking at the substance. What is it am I trying to deliver? What I call the core. Then I'm looking at convenience. Because people are looking for convenience. If you make it difficult for people to come to what you are offering, then you are making it difficult for yourself. So you want to open all the chance. I went to one church and I realized their parking places were full, but they had still land. They had land where people could park their cars. And I wanted to give a suggestion to the leadership, so I gave a special offering. And I said, this is for expansion of the parking lot. Because I couldn't go and tell the pastor in charge. But I gave an offering. And I went there, I think after 15 years, I found they're still having, there is a few parking places they have. I was actually telling them, like in a country where everybody's driving, parking lot becomes part of what you're offering for the service. So there is a core, the mission, the message, what we are trying to deliver. Then there is a convenience. Then the other thing is communication. You might have something very good, but if people do not know, you are going to be keeping silver under a bushel. You are going to keep blessings under a debe. That's what Jesus said. You don't light a light and you cover it. Actually, what he was saying, if you have something good, communicate. Tell people. Put brochures out. Put it on the TV, on the radio. If you have something good. And that has also ministered to me. Because after COVID, what we are doing actually, we are doing what is called church planting. Even an old church, we are having to do a replanting again. A lot of people have become weary. A lot of people have not come back. We are having to replant the church again. So we are using the same principles we use for church planting. Where you go to a new place and you start a church. Those principles have to be applied now to get people back to God. And as I was thinking about it, the Lord helped me to remove stress from me. The Lord was ministering to me. And he reminded me of this principle. That as long as whatever you are doing, you must keep communicating. For example, because we carry our service on Zoom, every Sunday I send out an invite. Just in case some people have forgotten or they are seeing it for the first time. Because I meet some people and say, oh yeah, we saw your invite. Communication must continue because that's the only way you reach people who do not know. Whatever way you use to communicate, then communication. So there is the core, the convenience, and the communication. And then there is the last one. I say these are 4 items which help you in strategy in planning to achieve what God has called you to do. There is a cost. The cost is of time and resources demanded of the participant. If I want to use a small group so that you realize these principles are applied across the board. Let's go again to the choir. What is the cost of being a member of a choir? You don't think there is a cost? You don't think there is a cost? If you make me to come every day to practice, that's a heavy cost I cannot pay. If you ask me to come twice, maybe I would think it's reasonable. So there is always a cost. So whatever you are trying to do, you must always consider the cost to the other people. Sometimes we pastors say, why are these people not coming to the meeting? But it's because we have not considered the cost. This person is struggling in the jam at 5 to get out of town. Me as a pastor, I've been preparing. And I'm waiting for the people. The people are getting late, and some are not even coming. So I think by kind of knowing, understanding people, because it's a question of understanding what is affecting people. Then whatever as a pastor or as a leader I'm arranging, like if I'm a leader of a choir, I must consider what is going on in my environment so that I can minimize the cost to the person. Because I might be really wanting to join your choir. But if you demand that I come every day and I have a family, then what you're actually telling me that the cost is too high for me. As much as I like singing in the church, I will not join. I'm using that group so that you can apply it to whatever group or whatever institution God will give you to lead. So there is a core. You must also mean the core, the substance of your mission, the convenience to the participants and those who are interested. You must keep communicating with them, talking to them, to new people and to old people. And you must remember the cause. Those are the things that make whatever God has given you to succeed. Remember, all the time we are dealing with people. That's why you are considering the circumstances around the people. So everything I've spoken is because you are dealing with people. Whatever you are trying to do, you are trying to understand people, human behavior, because you are working among humans. And if you understand human behavior and how people operate, you don't have to have studied psychology. You just find it by discussing with people. You just find it by knowing what you like to do and what you cannot do. You're already a psychologist. By observing what people can do and what they can't do. It's called human behavior. That's what people go to do a degree for. But you already have the degree. You know what people like. If you ask people to come 5 times a day, you don't have to have a degree in that. You know they will not come. It's human behavior, it's psychology. If you ask a psychologist, he'll tell you that before you did it. Tell you, it's not going to happen. So, we are dealing with the people, especially as a church. And even other organizations, they say it is our people who make the difference. Not the building, not the plans and the program, it is the people. So here as a leader, actually, remember we said, you are guiding and motivating your people. So leadership is about people. And I want to finish by giving you 4 A's that will help you in dealing with the people anywhere. And in the church, it will apply very, very much. I know we have absorbed a lot, but I want to give you these 4 A's which will help you. That's why I told you they are hangers. That's why I'm using alphabets, letters of the alphabet. I gave you 3 S's, then I gave you 4 C's. Then now I'm going to give you 4 A's of how to deal with humans to succeed. And this I'm giving you not only for yourself, to develop yourself, but so that you can teach the others who didn't come, those people who are in your group. Because the Bible says, give these to faithful men so that they can pass it on. The people, when you get the baton, you don't keep it. You actually pass the baton to the next person. And this is the agenda today. We are learning how to pass the baton to the next generation. So whatever we are teaching, some of it you can use, and some of it we are giving it to you to pass to somebody else. So these are 4 A's you can use anywhere to deal with humans. If you want to succeed when you are dealing with human beings, you must be available. Do you have time for other people? Do you have time for God? I have found a lot of people who miss out opportunities because they have no time. When the bishop announced this meeting, you had to allocate time for it. Maybe there are other things you had to postpone or rearrange. And I believe that out of the conversations we have had today, God has equipped you to deal with a lot of things, both in the church and in your own life. Please apply these principles both in the church and in your own life, and you find your life will not be the same again. Because these are principles that work everywhere. In the church, they work even more because there is a God factor. Being available. Some people are too busy. They are too busy because they don't distinguish what is important and what is not important. Actually, people who get too busy are people who don't know how to select priorities. Because people who know how to select priorities, you know what to discard and what to maintain. If you find that here an important person is going to come and speak in church, that is somewhere you keep away other items which can wait, and you go and listen, because that person is going to come again. I'm not talking about myself, although I might be important in some places, but I'm not talking about myself. Maybe there will be other people that Bishop will invite. When you hear especially, yeah, you can't just keep your old agenda. You know, these guys who, when the master called, someone said, I have a cow, I've got to go and try it. Another said, I got married. You're going to have your wife all the time. You can't say, I got married and the master is calling. You can ask your wife, please excuse me for this one time. I've got to attend this one, because you never know. This guy might bless us and we have a great time in the future. So when the master calls, you cancel your schedule, your prior arrangements. You are available. Your ability actually to know when you should be available or not will make you succeed or not succeed. Because many people miss their future because they don't know who to listen to or where they should be. Being available and knowing where the priorities of what you should be doing, it will make all the difference. Yeah. Do you have time for others and time for God? Because you cannot be a leader, you have no time for other people. If all your time is taken, you can't be a leader. Your leader must have time for other people because you are leading other people. You have time for God. Whenever I speak about that parable that Jesus gave, about these people who said they were too busy to come to the banquet that the master had called, the Lord taught me something. He told me, and I've seen it in my own life, the time you have spent today in this seminar, God will pay you so many times by redeeming the time you would waste in many places. You find actually you're starting doing things and you wonder why they are moving so fast. It's because you made a donation, an offering of 5 hours, 3 hours in the church. You wonder why next week you find things are moving so fast. Things which you have been calling someone, he's not calling you back. He calls you. You find they have arranged the things you've been asking them to arrange. God is nobody's debtor, the Bible says. If you give an offering of time to God, you'll be surprised. God will redeem your time. God will make it easier. Whatever things you are trying to do, you find they are moving much faster. You find many people want to help you. Maybe there's a question, there's a prayer you've been praying, and God will start creating openings. He answers even in time. There is no time spent for God that is wasted. There is no time spent with God that He's not going to pay 100-fold. I've seen that. I do a lot of things in addition to being a pastor. If I tell you all the things I do, you'd wonder, is this 10 people doing it? But it's because of that. I never spare time. When I do God's work, there is no time I will not spend. If someone calls me to their house, I'll drive there. I'll go minister to them and get back. Somehow God is able to drive back. In my own family, I'm the person with most time. There's no member of my family. When they can't get any other member, they call me. You see me, I am trying to call so and so. Then I wonder, am I in the center? Some of them are not even in the same city. I'm trying to call so and so, but they are not answering. So they are trying to get me like the one who is the telephone operator. And yet I'm the busiest person in the family, but yes, the most available person. How is it possible? Only God can make it possible. Somehow He's able to give you a stress-free life, and yet you are available, and yet you are able to accomplish a lot. Being available, especially to do God's work. God somehow is able to multiply our time many times over. And most of the time I sleep 7 to 8 hours. So it's not that I work longer hours, but God is able to juggle the time. As leaders, we know that is a challenge because the bishop will call you a number of times. Whatever group you are leading will require you to devote time. And you wonder, am I losing time for my family, which I could use for my family, for my business? Let me assure you, the bishop told you I'm very old. Over time, I have tested God, and I've seen Him to be true. You will never lose time when you serve God. That's just one A. The other A is being accessible. You can be available but not accessible. You can be in your house but nobody is calling you. Or if people call you, you are not picking. Or you have switched off your phone. There are also people who want to take phone numbers for people they know. How are you going to grow? If you're the only numbers, if you look at a number, someone calling and you see the number you don't know and then you say, I don't pick numbers I don't know. How are you going to grow? You are going to remain wherever you are. If you never pick a telephone number which you don't know, you are not growing because you're not creating new connections. You are not creating new friends. This could be destiny connectors, people sent by God to call you. If you only pick the numbers you know, then you are not accessible. And God works by people. God works through people. Even when you pray, God will send someone to deliver the prayers, to deliver the answers. So if you don't take the call, how do you know whether this is the person? Or are you going to say he can only come this way through the people I know? Then you are limiting God. It must be accessible. You just answer the phone. And if someone is saying, oh, I want to say this and that, you just tell them, sorry, that has been taken care of. But you don't ignore a telephone call. You never know. You never know. I was teasing one of my associate pastors. I said, when someone calls, you answer the phone. Because I've had people calling me when they're at the bank. They're actually looking for my account. So I always tease her and tell her, how do you know that the person calling you is not calling you so that you can give them the account to put the money? Because me, I have had those kind of calls. That's how I've tried to train her, that you don't miss to answer a call. There are people actually who look at a call and they let it ring and then they say, I'll answer it later. No. The person could be at the bank. How do you know? How do you know? So you have to be accessible. Because God works by people or through people. How are they going to deliver? Not only is it for you, but how are those people who are going to receive your ministry, the ministry that God has given you, how are they going to get it if you are not accessible? I was riding in a car, pastor's car, one time here in Kenya. I had visited. And someone was trying to call the pastor and arrange an appointment. And the pastor was getting so upset because he had no time. I was in the car listening. Of course, I didn't know the guy who was calling. But he was trying to show how difficult it's going to be for him to make an appointment to see the pastor. And I wondered, what is this? I thought this, my friend, was a good man. How can he not be available for someone who is calling them? But that's why we are teaching. If you're going to be doing a ministry, if you're going to be a leader, you have to accept inconvenience. People are even going to call you very late in the night. Because if someone needs prayer and they are distressed or they need help, you have to be available. You have to be accessible. So it works both ways. God is going to send people to you, and people have to be able to reach you. You have also to open the lines because you never know whether God is sending someone to bring blessings to you. Because God works through people. Yes. He used to drop manna from heaven, but he stopped. Yeah, he said, now I've given you a garden. So he wants you to start tilling the garden. And you work with the people even when you are tilling your own garden, when you are working on your own farm. You work with people. So that's why you all become psychologists now, human behaviorists. Now understand human behavior. Then you know how to work with people. And the third A, as I'm coming very close to the end, someone was telling us preachers conclude 5 times. The third day is being approachable. Being available and being accessible is not the same as being approachable. I learned this principle a long time ago. My children used to go to Thika Road Primary School, the Christian school, the one near Safari Park, very near here, Thika Road Christian School. And my son, the second son, the boys they used to go to school with, I think they had seen me drop him or they had seen me somewhere. They used to tell him, your father is stone-faced. The other boys used to tease him like that. When I heard it, I didn't get annoyed. I realized actually a message was being sent to me. Maybe I used to look very serious. Very serious. So the other boys used to ask, why is your dad stone-faced? Why is he mad? What is he angry about? And the message reached me. So I received teaching from the children. And from there, that's why I started smiling a little. The little smiling you have noticed is when they told me, actually, the way I carried myself, I looked like I was already angry. So if you wanted to approach me, you have to be careful. That I'm a very serious man, very busy man. I have no time for other people. You see, if you do that, you actually miss the opportunity to minister those for whom God has given you to minister. And you also block those who God is sending, the angels. You frighten the angels of God. And you see, angels are not the only one coming with wings. Angels are humans. Because people might want to tell me something, but they see me, I'm too busy. I'm wearing an air of being too busy, or too serious, or too educated, or too whatever. And they don't want to mess with me. They don't want to. I call it the do not disturb sign. You know, when you go to a hotel and you don't want people to disturb, you put something at the outside. It's called the do not disturb. When the people who clean the hotel rooms come and find a door with a sticker saying do not disturb, they know the client who's in there does not want any disturbance. So they pass that room and they go to clean the next room. This air of approachable, those who are not approachable already put it on their face. Do not disturb. Stone face. Do not disturb. I'm too busy. I'm angry. Or I have no time. Kind of do not disturb. You can't be a minister and a pastor if you carry that. You can't be a leader. Even in the choir, there are people who would want to join the choir and they're afraid. The choir director looks stone-faced. The choir director looks like if you even have tried to tell him that I know something, you say, up. It's a dismissive attitude. The people are afraid. I know one choir where they had created such an air that you almost felt like to join that choir, you are going to heaven. The director and the choir master, they were difficult. You couldn't, maybe they were even more important than pastor himself. You can actually build an air that actually blocks the ministry you are trying to do. Because there are many people who are shy in the church. Remember that, I told you. A lot of people are shy. People gifted, but they are very shy. So if you put a stone face, they are never going to come forward. Because they are afraid you are going to dismiss them. They are afraid that maybe they are disturbing you. They are afraid because you are very educated, you are very senior. So if you are very educated, you have to be very careful. I used to carry a card where all my degrees were longer than my name. I used to give the card, but now I stopped giving a card like that. Because I don't want people feel that they cannot relate to me. So now I can relate to anybody. I relate to anybody. There is nobody I cannot relate to. I only tell people my level of education when it is necessary. For example, if I want to tell them what I know so that they don't think I'm pretending that I know something, then they know that what I'm talking about I know. Only in those situations. Like when I meet people who are doing investments, I tell you, I've been trained in this, I've been trained in this, I've been trained in this. So when I start speaking, they know that I'm speaking from knowledge. But when it is not necessary, I don't go telling people. Because I don't want to create that do not disturb a situation so that I can minister to every person. Some of my best friends, like when I used to be here, was the guy who used to supply to bring milk to my house and who used to sell vegetables. That's the guy we used to go and he would invite me to his house with my wife so that we can go eat a dinner. We must, if we are going to minister, we must be able to be approachable so that we can minister to people. And finally, we must be amiable. Amiable is not a word that is used many times, but it captures the meaning of being a pleasant person to be with, like Bishop Ndongo. In the 2 years that I have known Bishop Ndongo, I have always appreciated any meeting that we have had. He's the kind of person we would like to be with. And this is so important in our day because we talked of outreach. Someone has said that the future of evangelism is friendship evangelism. Although we still do some crusades, in some places we don't do any crusades. You actually gain new members and new people through friends who invite them to church. So, by you being a pleasant person to be with, you're actually doing evangelism. And being a pleasant to be with, you are not born with it. Don't say, I was born dull, or I was born a person who cannot smile. Ask God and He will help you so that you can be able to be a person people like to be with. I'll tell you one of the main reasons people don't get, if you have this issue, it might make it difficult for people to find you pleasant if you are argumentative. A person who is argumentative, many people will avoid you and you will not know why. Every time someone tells you something, you are kanusha. You are trying to oppose for any reason. You say, this soda looks yellow. You say, no. That is orange. You are always correcting people. You are always arguing. A lot of people are going to get tired. It's called kanusha. Everything you hear, you are trying to be the opposition. You say, people are talking and say, Asha. There are actually people who are like that. Have you met people like that? You are not amiable. You are not, because you can even disagree with somebody, but the way you actually do it, you actually say yes, but. That's how you actually move from being argumentative to presenting an opposing point of view. You can disagree with somebody, but you don't have to say, Asha. You can say, oh, but whatever you said, maybe there is another element you need to consider. What you actually helping the other person. Instead of saying, Asha, or no, or whatever, you are helping the person to see another point of view. So to be a pleasant person to be with, friendship evangelism, the future of evangelism is friendship evangelism. Being a person people would like to relate to. The future of you as a choir master is being a friend to the people who are going to want to come to join your group. Whatever group God has given you, if you are friendly, you find you get a lot of people wanting to join. Even a church, a friendly church, where people, they actually say, people who will come to a church and remain are those who are received by the ushers. The way you receive them, actually, they decide which church they want to belong. Friendship, pleasant person to be with. Creating a long relationship with people. That's actually what makes for a pleasant person. And that ability for people to be want around you. Remember we said, leadership is about influence and impartation. You want to influence people, to impart them, to impact them, and to impart and pull out the gifts that are in them. If you are a pleasant person to be with, you will be able to mentor a lot of people. Many people are going to come to you so that you can mentor them because you are flowing easily. You are flowing easily. You find a lot of young people want to come to you. As old as I am, I've mentored people who are like a third of my age. They still want to come to me to speak with me. They find like I'm almost one of them. They want to talk to me. They find they can relate with me. And I'm not unique. All these things I've learned. I used to be a very timid person, a very withdrawn person, a very reserved person. But I realize you can't go very far in ministry or whatever you're doing if you cover yourself under a bucket. You have to be outgoing. You have to start learning how to communicate with people and to interact with people if you're going to be a leader and to do ministry. So that you can impact people, influence them, and impart on them. So what we call impartation, you're actually affirming the gifts that are in them. Because the Bible is telling us the gifts that were confirmed by the laying on of hands. They were imparted. The gifts are in the person. Or you can even pray for the people to get the gifts. You do it by being a friend to them. Because it's only those who are friendly that you come to you for for that invitation. Otherwise, people will stay away. So those are the 4 A's. Maybe if you call me again, I'll give you some other letters. You know, as a speaker, you never finish everything. Otherwise, you will never be called again. So I want to stop there, Bishop Ndongo.
That's a lot of wisdom, and we thank God for that wisdom of many years of leadership, of business, and you realize those principles are not just for church. You know, in church, I don't know why some people don't understand. Church is a school of life. I think wale watu wanapinganga kanisa ni wale hawajui kanisa ni nini. Kwa sababu nafikiria huku tunakujanga tu maombi, tunapiga kelele, nyimbo 2 3 tunaenda. But they don't know what we are. Tumetengenezwa na kanisa. Most of the wisdom we have, it did not even come from school. It is actually through the church. Amen? So many people do not understand that. So we thank you so much, Reverend Daniel, for that wisdom. May the Lord bless you for bringing us that wisdom. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. We really, really appreciate. And you can be sure you are my friend. And now our friends, even as ministry. And when these people come to the U.S., because there are many who will come, they can also look for you and come and visit your church in Memphis. Amen. And whenever you come here, you also have a home church. Amen. So we are friends. Because Mungu analeta watu pamoja for a purpose and for a reason. So there's a reason why God brought us together. And we will wait and see. After lunch, I will ask him to also mention about his business. He took me a place in Thika, Mango area, where he's building a whole estate, houses for sale. And there could be somebody here. It could be an opportunity to own a home. And they are very affordable. And I think he has a plan of how somebody can own a home. And he's selling to a lot of people. So after we come back, he can tell us, so that you can connect with him. For some of you, it could be an opportunity to own a home and in a good estate, 3-bedroom houses, and they are wonderful. We went there, and he's doing a great job. So he'll tell us more and maybe tell us why he does, that kind of business. And I'll ask him maybe to give us even 1 or 2 principles of business, because I know most of you are also in business. Yes, we are in church, but I know probably 90% of you are also in business. So he can give us 2 or 3, words of wisdom, how to run. He's a consultant in business, and he's an international consultant. People from US, Europe, and Kenya, and all that. So, and so I'm sure one or two. I think we plan also next time he's around, we can plan a business forum where he can come and now teach business, and we can consult with him at large. I don't know whether there's anything like that, not personally, but for all of us, and that we can also grow in a business, because God wants us to. The Bible says God wants you to profit. So, and I'm sure those are areas he can also teach us, and he's very. I'm sure he's very open to do that. I want us to break for lunch. It's 1:30, and we'll give you about 30 minutes or so, at most 40, depending on what you're eating. And let's come back at around 2:10. few questions, because we said today is a class, so we are learning. We are not really preaching, so we'll also allow a few questions and answers and have some discussions for about an hour before we call it a day. Let's give an offer.